Hello and welcome to Bottleship with our friends the Jifflings. If you enjoy the show, please leave a review and share the podcast with your friends. And stay tuned to the end of the show when the Jifflings will read out some of your reviews. Who knows, they might even read out your review. And now it's time for today's episode, the Dolphin's Top Hat. In your world, things are important. But what about the things that aren't important anymore? Well, sometimes those things end up here in the magical land of Dilstonia, where the Jifflings live on their little Jiffling ship. They find these things that we throw away and fish them out of their sea so they can recycle them and put them to good use once again. And here they are now, ready to work. Eccentric young pumpkin.
Ooh, I'm ever so excited.
The hedge, who was a very lazy Jiffling.
Like, hey man, is it time for bed yet?
Miss Katie, who loves fixing things and dressing up. Sometimes I like both together. Albert, the ship's gardener.
Hey, who's been into me cabbage patch like?
And Freidaline, a very sensible Jiffling who looks after everybody on the ship.
Yeah, that is correct. Oh.
Today on the ship, the Jifflings are having a spelling bee, which is when you have a fun competition to see who can spell the most words. Ooh.
Hey.
Every Jiff has gathered on deck to play along.
Woo. Yeah.
Albert, this word's perfect for you to spell. How do you spell garden?
Well, G-A-R-D-E-N.
That's right, Albert. Well done.
Yay.
Miss Katie gave Albert his special gold sticker, and young Pumpkin stood up to join in.
Right, Miss Katie, how do you spell cat?
Well, it isn't a K, because cat is spelled C, meow, A, meow, T. Oh, Miss Katie, well done to you. You really have been practicing ever so hard.
Right.
As Miss Katie took her gold sticker, very proudly, Hedge scuffled up to the front and took a card.
Like, this word is for Freidaline. How do you spell clean?
Everyone waited for Freidaline to answer. But Freidaline simply wasn't there. This was most strange, because she was very good at spelling and always helped the other Jiffs to learn. Not wanting any Jiff to be left alone, they all went looking for Freidaline and were surprised to find her crouched down on her little Jiffling knees, peering under their picnic table.
Like, what are you doing, Freidaline man? Well, I am searching, Hedge. I must find my golden trophy, or I cannot play in the spelling bee.
Oh yes, that was the trophy that Freidaline had won for knowing the most words at the last spelling bee.
Well, didn't we let Geoffrey the pet mouse use it as a dinner bowl? Meep, 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 meep.
Well, Geoffrey didn't think so. Come and play, Freidaline. We've got a word we really want you to spell next.
Oh, no, I cannot. I simply will not remember the words if I don't have my special trophy. It reminds me that I am a clever Jiff.
Oh, so that's why Freidaline wanted her trophy.
Aren't you a clever Jiffling because you try very hard, Freidaline? And because you practice, not because of your trophy.
Well, that sounds quite right, young Pumpkin. But there was no time to discuss it now, because that sound meant an object which had been lost or thrown away on Earth had found its way into their net. So they all scampered to the front of the ship and worked hard to heave it in. The object dropped onto deck with no more than a murmur. It was black and hollow and felt ever so soft. It really did look rather posh.
Well, that is definitely a pot for me herbs, where I can grow us some lovely sage, And Basil, "No, man, that's like a nice woolly bathtub that I can laze in until my jiffling toes crinkle up."
Then young Pumpkin stepped forwards because he knew exactly what the object was. And now he was going to share that story with the other Jiffs. He bounced up onto the story seat and excitedly began his tale.
This is the top hat, and my great-aunt Joanna Jiffling II told me all about it. Once upon a time, there was a dolphin named Stephen who lived in a bay with lots of other sea creatures, like turtles and a seahorse, and even a walrus. Well, Stephen Dolphin was quite the cleverest sea creature of all, and he always wore his tall top hat wherever he went, because he knew that's where he kept all of his brilliant knowledge, on top of his head. His favourite topic of all was space, and he knew everything there was to know about the planets and the stars, and so whenever anybody had a difficult question, they asked Stephen Dolphin.
"Stephen, what's the biggest planet in the solar system?"
"Well, young William Oyster, that's Jupiter, of course. And what's that, Sally Stingray? You'd like to know the name of our galaxy? Ha! It's the Milky Way!" Well, everywhere he went, all the other creatures would ask Stephen questions, and all he had to do was look up into his big top hat full of knowledge, and then he was sure to know the answer. But one day, Stephen Dolphin got a grand invitation to visit the king of the bay, Kevin Platypus. Hello. To tell him all about the stars. Stephen was very excited, and he polished his top hat until it was nice and shiny, so he'd be able to answer all of the king's questions. But on his way to the watery sea palace, Stephen met a group of blue whales who were in ever such of a hurry. Now, blue whales are one of the largest creatures in the sea, so in their rush, they knocked Stephen Dolphin's top hat right off his head, and it was lost in the ocean. Ah, my goodness! What a terrible mess! How in all the rings of Saturn will I answer the king's questions now, without my top hat full of knowledge? Then Stephen stopped, and he looked up. His hat definitely wasn't there anymore, but he still knew about Saturn and its many rings, and he still knew about the Earth orbiting the sun. He still knew everything. Well, button my trousers. Seems it is I, Stephen Dolphin, who knows about space, not my top hat after all. And so Stephen Dolphin travelled to the palace gleefully, and the king was very impressed by all his knowledge, which he was able to share even without his big fancy top hat. Aye, and because the top hat was lost, it has ended up here, so we can give it another use.
That's right, Albert, because everything the Jifflings find is reused. I think this should be a paintbrush holder, where we keep all of the colourful paintbrushes when we're not painting. Then Freidaline stepped forward, for she knew exactly what the object should be.
We will use this hat to hold all of the spelling words, so we can play our spelling bee all day long. And I will take the next turn, even without my trophy.
Well done, Freidaline. That is very brave of you. So the Jifflings took all of their words and placed them in the top hat. Then they each took turns to pick out a word and spell it. They spelled words like boat and king, and Freidaline spelled happy.
H-A-P-P-Y.
They played long into the evening, and each of them got gold stickers. But most importantly, they all had a lovely fun time together. And then, after so much playing and learning, it was time for bed. Good night, young pumpkin.
Good night.
Good night, Albert.
Hey, I'll see you in the morning, like.
Good night, Freidaline.
And it is a good night. Yeah.
Good night, Miss Katie. Night-night. Good night, Hedge. Hedge? Oh, I think the hedge is asleep already. And goodbye to you too, wherever you are. Maybe next time you see a thing that you might throw away, you'll stop and see if you can use it again, just like our friends the Jifflings. And maybe the thing you use again will have a story to tell too. Goodbye. Thank you for listening to Bottleship. We'll have a new episode up every 2 weeks. For all the parents listening, if you'd like to, you can donate to the show at patreon.com/bottleship. And for all the children listening, if you enjoyed the show, please leave a review and share the podcast with your friends. We've had some lovely reviews this week, haven't we, Jifflings?
Yeah, like this one from Pixie Dust. Pixie says, "Hello, I am Pixie Dust, and I am 15 years old and an author in process. I like listening to your stories every day. I like to mimic the voices too. I have gone through all of your episodes twice and more. My favorite character is Hedge. I like his voice. Freidaline has an interesting accent. Miss Katie and Pumpkin are the kind of friends I'd like to have. And Albert's voice is very hard to mimic." "Oh, well, Pixie Dust, that is very lovely. Thank you. Aye, you're never too old to enjoy adventures."
Yeah. And we have this review too from Sadybug Ladybug 123 in Canada. Sadie says, "I used to listen to Storytime, and I still do, but I also listen to this one. I love it. Can you make one where they have Halloween on the ship?"
Oh, well, Sadybug, maybe the next episode will be a very spooky episode indeed.
That's right, young pumpkin. Maybe it will. Once again, thank you all for listening to Bottleship. And if you like listening to stories, why not check out our sister podcast, Storytime, for children of all ages. Thanks again, and we'll bring you more exciting adventures with our friends the Jifflings very soon. Goodbye.